Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Hello, welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Monday, June 2nd. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far today. This is episode 549 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. I thank you, as always, for joining me. For those tuning in on YouTube, make sure to please like and subscribe. Of course, appreciate all of those tuning in on all the different audio podcast platforms. And today we've got some New York Jets news to discuss as we have officially hit the month of June, another month closer to training camp, and more importantly, another month closer to the start of the 2025 season. Each day goes by, we get closer, counting down the days already. Appreciate you all joining me today. We're going to break down the New York Jets' increase in salary cap space here on June 2nd with the post-June 1 designations kicking in. The New York Jets now jump up to fourth in the NFL in current cap space, so we'll break that down, what they could do with that cap space. And I also want to get into some recent Jets front office additions, which has been a common theme for Darren, Mougey, Aaron Glenn, and this new regime. Out with the old, in with the new. Exactly what this organization needs. We'll get to that as well a little bit later on. As always, though, before we begin, we got to tell you about our podcast partners, starting with our friends over at BetUS, America's favorite online sportsbook. If you want to get in on any of the sports betting action, check out BetUS and use my link in the description of this video to get a 125% sign-up bonus on your first three deposits up to $2,000. Also, our friends over at SeatGeek. If you want the best tickets in sports or entertainment, check out SeatGeek and use code BUBSONSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. And, of course, our friends over at Huga House. If you want any of their awesome selection of hats, sweatshirts, T-shirts, check them out. Use code BUBS for 15% off any purchase and get yourself some awesome Huga House swag. So here we go, episode 549 here on a Monday to get the week started. Appreciate everyone tuning in as always. This support means so much here on the podcast. And I wanted to start today with the New York Jets and their current salary cap situation, which improved today. With the post-June 1st designations of Aaron Rodgers and C.J. Mosley, the New York Jets have now picked up $13.5 million in cap space. The Aaron Rodgers cap number dropped from $23.5 million to $14 million, so that's $9.5 million in savings. And the C.J. Mosley cap number dropped from $12.8 million to $8.8 million, which is $4 million in savings. You tally those two together, that's where you get your $13.5 million. Of course, every NFL team gets to designate two cuts, are allowed up to two cuts to designate as post-June 1st. The Jets elected to do that with Aaron Rodgers and Mosley. When you look at the cap hit next year's, just to take a look in the future, the Jets will absorb a pretty hefty $35 million from Rodgers in 2026, and they will absorb about $7.7 million from Mosley in 2026. So it is a drop from the $12.8 million that they absorbed this year. And now this opens things up for the New York Jets. I want to throw this up here on the screen for the YouTube audience. Here is the updated cap space leaders in the NFL. It's the New England Patriots leading the way with $67.3 million. Then you have the 49ers with about $53.4 million. Then it's the Detroit Lions with about $40.1 million. And there are your New York Jets just a tick below $36.8 million, around essentially $36.8 million there in salary cap space, currently ranking fourth in the NFL, which of course is a significant jump to where they were just a couple days ago, just 24 hours ago, prior to when these June 1st designations kicked in. And I think when you look at the New York Jets right now, right, the Jets have been linked. They have been talked about and discussed about possibly being a team that can go on a summer free agency spending spree. And I don't even know if spending spree is the right way to put it, right? Because I don't think they're going to go out and spend like drunken sailors. That's not what teams are going to do this time of year. A lot of times this time of year, you're picking up low-cost veterans that are still available, guys where if something happens during training camp, you can bring somebody else in to fill that spot, right? That's typically what you're getting. You're not getting a star-studded player this time of year, but I do think you have to expect the Jets here potentially to look down a couple avenues, look down a couple areas, and a couple players that they could add. I think they could definitely be a team here now with this increased salary cap space to add maybe a veteran or just another younger piece through free agency now that they have more flexibility. Of course, the main thing is going to be the Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson extensions, which will get done. And you continue to kind of get nuggets here and there about they've had contract offers. There's now been discussions. Things are heating up. Those are going to get done. We mentioned the Cimini article last week that he released, noting today as a date to watch for getting closer to the extensions because of the Rodgers and Mosley cap numbers dropping after the June 1 designation. So those are two big things that here could happen and should happen and will probably happen before the 2025 season begins, and that is long-term extension for two blue-chip pieces in Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. Now, just back to the free agent options here for a second. We've talked about a lot of these guys. I just wanted to go through, again, some of the names, some of the position groups that the Jets could look to add at if they are going to go and have kind of a second free agency here, which out of all the teams, the Jets are definitely a likely team to add a player or two between now and the start of the season, especially with the way they approach free agency, right? It was a lot of low risk, cheap contracts, not many veterans. Now do they look for those veterans to fill out the final holes and complement some of those younger pieces? We'll see. But we mentioned Justin Simmons. We talked about him the other day. Julian Blackmon's another name to keep an eye on. Two safeties. All right, Tony Adams, not really so fully secured in that starting role, not fully trusted. Do the Jets look at Tony Adams and do they look at a Simmons or a Blackmon and view them as upgrades? Simmons, of course, the connection with Darren Mougey. He is older. He is coming off of a very bad season. So I don't know if they'll go that route, but you can understand it from the going back to the Denver Broncos days with him and Mougey, if that's somebody they want to bring into what is a young safety room. Their only other move this offseason was adding Andre Sisco and then, of course, drafting Malachi Moore. So it's a young room even with Tony Adams. Blackmon's 26. He'll be 27 in August. That's a signing I could see the Jets making in the safety room because it's a young player entering his sixth season, right? Got a one-year contract with the Colts. Solid player. Maybe the Jets see more upside in him over a guy in Justin Simmons who's on the downward. We've talked a lot about the receiver options, a Keenan Allen and Amari Cooper. I still think the Jets' best bet if they really want a receiver. And right now, I think they're okay. I really do. I think they truly believe in this room. You've seen Arian Smith do some good things at OTAs. Again, it's OTAs. It's very early. He should be doing well in OTAs because guys with track star speed like him should be able to blow by guys in non-contact. So really training camp will tell the full story there. But I would really prefer the Jets to go and trade for somebody. A Romeo Doubs to me would be the preferred route over a Keenan Allen or Amari Cooper. And I could honestly see that being the Jets, the route they take. If I had to pick, though, between Cooper and Keenan Allen, give me Keenan Allen. As a number 2 last year, I thought he was solid. Cooper's coming off a career-worst season where he was a non-factor down the stretch for Buffalo when they were making a playoff run. You look on some other guys on the defensive side of the football as we flop back over. Some guys up front, Jadeveon Clowney, Zadarius Smith, Raekwon Davis, Jordan Phillips. You want a run stuffer? Davis, 6'7", 325. Jordan Phillips, 6'6", 341. Would either of those names be intriguing to the Jets? Only time will tell. We have heard about some good things about Byron Cowart out of camp. They've got Derek Nottie. You've got Leonard Taylor. So they do have some pieces. Add more competition from the interior defensive line room. Certainly a possibility. Those are some names. Davis, 27. Will be 28 here actually in a couple of days, June 10th. So you're looking at a guy south of 30. Jordan Phillips is north of 30. He'll be 30. He's 32. He'll be 33 in September. Za'Darius Smith, 32. Jadeveon Clowney, 32. He'll be 33 in September. Out of this list, you're looking at only two guys that are in their 20s. So essentially, and this has to be talked about because the way the Jets have approached things, if you're going to sign somebody and use this cap at this stage in free agency, you're most likely going to look at probably getting somebody north of 30, whether that's a Keenan Allen or a Justin Simmons or a Za'Darius Smith or a Jadeveon Clowney. If you want to add some edge help to potentially be ready for maybe a slow start from Jermaine Johnson coming off the torn Achilles, and just to have edge depth for two guys in Za'Darius Smith and Jadeveon Clowney that have been for a while and still productive players can't hurt either. Za'Darius Smith, also a guy that spent some time with the Lions last year, of course, after the Aiden Hutchinson injury, got dealt to Detroit. He is a name, worked with Aaron Glenn. If there's interest there, certainly possible. So those are just some names and what the Jets can do here moving forward. We've talked a lot about that, of course, the other day. We discussed 4 free agents that Connor Hughes linked in his mailbag article. Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Julian Blackmon, Justin Simmons were those names. I think out of the 4 of those, Julian Blackmon sounds like the most Darren Mougey, Aaron Glenn-like player. Only entering his 6th season, would be a change of scenery, will be 27 years old when the season starts. Kind of feels similar to Andre Sisco, right? Maybe hasn't quite hit his level yet. If they see upside in him, maybe that's a move. All right, so that's the salary cap stuff. Definitely a positive and gives the Jets here some flexibility over the next couple months. Now, I wanted to get into some of the latest Jets front office additions here that have taken place over the last couple days, over the last couple weeks. We've talked about the Jets a lot and their front office overhaul, and it's all been good. They need to overhaul it. We've mentioned it so many times. Drain the swamp. There has been pieces in this organization. There has been people in this organization in the front office that have been here for 8, 10, 12, even 16 years that have just been rotting in this losing culture. Guys in scouting that year in and year out continue to come back, and there's no change. They've all gotten complacent. There's no urgency, right? You got to drain the swamp. And so far, Darren Mougey and Aaron Glenn have done a very good job of doing that. And now you're starting to see as well with the draft ending, them starting to bring in more of their own guys to replace some of these other guys that are on their way out. And over the last couple of days, the Jets have added 3 new members to their front office, one of them with a lot of experience. And that's what I like. Not only did they add, of course, Rick Spielman, right, earlier in the offseason, but earlier today, and we'll get to the 2 other names here in a second, but earlier today, they added TJ McCreate, who has 25 plus years of experience. He has accepted a role here with the New York Jets in their front office. And a guy with a ton of experience here. The role has been unspecified, so no exact details on that. I'm sure we'll get that here soon. I'm sure you'll see maybe something here in the coming days on the official Jets website. When you look at TJ McCreate and his past experience, been around since 1997. 1997 to 2004, he was with the Baltimore Ravens, 8 seasons with the team. From 1997 to 2002, he was an East Coast scout, so started in scouting. And then from 2003 to 2004, was promoted to their national scout. He was a part of that Super Bowl team in 2000, was a part of the organization. Then a couple years later, 3 seasons as director of pro personnel with the Cardinals from 2009 to 2011. During his time there, they made the playoffs once. Then went to Indy for 5 seasons as the director of college scouting for the Colts from 2012 to 2016. Those were the Andrew Luck years. A couple playoff appearances there as well. I think it's important to note some of the winning that he's been a part of in the organizations. Is he the sole reason he's been a part of the winning? No. Right? These are not general manager roles. They're not top of the front office roles, but they're in front offices where he saw teams have success. He saw teams and was a part of teams building successful rosters, right? Was a part of the Super Bowl 2000 Ravens. We'll get to it here right now. Was with the Eagles as well. After the Colts went to Philly, as a player personnel executive from 2017 to 2021. So was there for 5 seasons and was a part of that Super Bowl team in 2027 or 2017 rather. So he's seen some winning. He's been a part of some organizations that have been in the playoffs, that have built up, strong pedigree, strong consistency. Philly recently here, even Baltimore, of course, has been just a poster of just the one of the main what everybody wants to be in an organization. Baltimore is one of those teams every single year, competitive, right? Fact, in that AFC North, he was of course a part of that. So lots of experience in a variety of different roles, scouting, player personnel, pro personnel, all that stuff. Recently, he's worked with the 33rd team the last few years. He's also worked with the Senior Bowl the last couple seasons and a couple connections there with the Jets and the Senior Bowl and the 33rd team. The Jets hired the 33rd team to conduct their search. Of course, Mike Tannenbaum. They hired Aaron Glenn and Darren Mougey. They now bring in TJ McCreate, who was a part of the 33rd team. So there's a connection. Even too with the Senior Bowl, the Jets actually interviewed Jim Nagy for their GM job. TJ McCreate has been on his staff the last couple years. So you bring him in, got some of that college background. And just in general, 25 years of experience is a good thing to have around. Is it general manager experience? No, but you're not asking him to be a general manager. The Jets kind of already have that in Rick Spielman, that sounding board. And in a way, that separator between Mougey and Woody. That's kind of what you bring Spielman in to do. McCreate's another guy who has seen all areas of a front office work, has been in many different areas of a front office, been in many different areas of an organization, and now you bring him in. And it's just fresh blood. Like I said, all these other guys, they've all gone complacent. There's no urgency, losing culture. You need to drain the swamp. You need to move on from all these guys. You need to bring in your own new people and completely change things around here. And that's what they do there. The two other guys, one of them actually was a promotion. They only added 2 new front office guys. The other one was a promotion, which we'll get to. The other new promotion, though, the other new addition is Jaloon Morris. He's hired as a scout. So, again, the draft has come and gone over the last, couple weeks, and I'm sure even now here in the near future, you're going to see the Jets start to hire Mougey and Glenn, bring in a lot of their own scouts now. That's usually what happens because from the time that they're hired in February or January, whatever, late January, you don't have enough time to bring in your own scouts, right? Those scouts have been out there this entire time. Now you can bring in your own scouts and let them run with the next college football season. As for Morris, 3 seasons of player personnel assistant with the Raiders. That's his most recent role from 2022 to 2024. Prior to that, he spent 3.5 seasons as the assistant director of recruiting at UAB from 2019 to July of 2022. And then before that, he spent 5 seasons as a player personnel recruiting specialist at Alabama from 2014 to 2018. So only 3 years of NFL front office experience, but 8.5 seasons of experience in college, a smaller school in UAB, and a bigger power program in Alabama. So they bring him in here as a scout, has done, of course, a lot on the college side of things. And in the one promotion that the New York Jets have made was Thomas Whitty. He has been promoted to pro scout. So again, Mougey finding some of his own guys here. He's actually been with the Jets over the last couple years. Interesting with Whitty. He started in 2019 as a training camp operations intern with the Colts and was there for that summer. Then in 2021, he joined the Jets. From July of 2021 to June of 2023, he was a player personnel intern. From June of 2023, he then got moved up to a player personnel assistant. So the intern tag removed. And he's had that role from June 2023 up until now, so about 2 years. And then a little bit ago, now he has been turned into a pro scout. So has worked himself up the ranks here over the last, 4 seasons for the Jets, 21, 22, 23, 24. So has been here now for 4 seasons and becomes a pro scout. So those are the most recent front office changes. All good to see. And we've talked about some of the other moves, but just to go through them again, as I mentioned, they already added Rick Spielman. That was one of the first moves. Love that move, right? He was a name to look for as the general manager, to be able to get him as like a consultant, and to get him, be able to have him as a sounding board for Mougey is great. You want that experience. It's good to see Glenn hire a guy in Wilkes with previous head coaching experience, and a Mougey hire a guy with Spielman to help two first-time guys hopefully have success. So that was one of the moves. We've also mentioned all these other ones. Assistant Director of Pro Personnel, Kevin Murphy, he was out. He's been with the team now for 7 years. He's gone. Co-Director of Player Personnel, Greg Nejma, who was with the team for 16 seasons. They mutually parted ways. They also fired the Senior Director of Football Administration and Strategy, David Sosi, who was with the team for 8 years. So right then and there, two guys that have been here forever, multiple regimes. You need to move on. They did. They also added Broncos scout Rob Patton, who, of course, Mougey has the connection with from Denver. He becomes the Jets co-director of player personnel. And Phil Savage got moved to the consultant role on the team website. That was a couple months ago. The team website confirmed that. So Phil Savage is still around. Guy that's been around for a while, well respected. He becomes a consultant. So those are just some of the other moves that we've already talked about, but wanted to just, refresh you all and provide those again. There was also that report too earlier in the offseason that the Jets offered 170 people buyouts around the organization. And when it's a new regime, it's a new change, and Glenn and Mougey are trying to change the culture. This is what needs to be done. You need to make change. You need to move on from these people. You need to get rid of this complacent, losing culture and bring in fresh blood that can hopefully build and be a part of a solid winning culture and foundation. That's what you need. Because all these other general managers and head coaches that have come in here, they kind of just get sucked into that losing culture just like the rest of them. That can't happen this time, especially for two first-time guys. You can't make that mistake. So that's it. Another episode down. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. What are your thoughts on these front office moves? What are your thoughts on the New York Jets salary cap increasing? Do you think they'll make a move? If so, who do you want? Who do you think they'll add? What positions are you looking at? Let me know what you think down below. Appreciate the support as always. We'll be back. A lot more content coming your way here. Stay tuned. And until next time, Jets, Jets, Jets.